The Nintendo Switch has been on the market since March of 2017. So at the time of this recording in January of 2020, you can probably imagine there are literally thousands of accessories out there for it by now. And it might be a little hard to find what you're looking for. So we're gonna go over 5 accessories that you should definitely be picking up for your Switch or Switch Lite right now. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for stopping in. As always, please leave a like on this video. And before we get started, I do want to let you know that this is the 3rd video in a series of videos for new Switch owners. So if you haven't checked out the other 2, I'll make sure and link those at the end of the video. So stick around till then and make sure you don't miss them. Alright, so I will be leaving links below for everything I go over today. They are Amazon affiliate links, so if you click on any of those, they will help the channel out, and I definitely would appreciate that. So the first thing you're probably going to want to pick up for your Switch or Switch Lite is a micro SD card. Now, the Switch and Switch Lite both come with 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, but chances are you're probably going to fill that up pretty fast unless you're buying all physical games. And as cheap as memory cards have become, I honestly just have to recommend going straight for the 400 gigabyte. A 256 or a 120 would probably be fine, but in my opinion, at $50, you might as well just go for the 400 gigabyte. At least you won't have to worry about it filling up in a year and then having to get another one, and then switching from memory card to memory card every time you want to play a certain game. Maybe it's just me, but I would definitely end up losing one of those. Something you definitely want to stay away from with memory cards is cheap brands. If you've never heard of it, it's probably terrible. Just go with a SanDisk or a Samsung or just something like that. If you know the name, it's probably good, but the 400 gigabyte ones are SanDisk, and I use them in actually my Switch and Switch Lite. So if you just spent $200 to $300 on a system that you're going to be taking with you out when you go places, something you definitely might want to consider picking up is a case. Now, there are tons of options when it comes to cases, so I'm just going to go over a few that I have here just to give you a little bit of information on what's out there. So the first one I want to talk about is just a simple sleeve case. Now, this one is going to protect you from minor scratches and drops, like if you're, just throwing it in a backpack or something like that, but it's definitely not going to protect you from everything. I picked this one up from GameStop, actually the day I went to pick up Link's Awakening, and obviously I was excited about the game. I have moved on to something a little bit more durable since then, but if you're just going to be throwing it in a backpack or something like that, a sleeve is definitely the way to go, especially for the price. So the next one is a soft case, kind of like the sleeve, but this one has a little bit more. I found this one on Amazon, and it's from iPega. The good thing about this is it will fit either the Switch or the Switch Lite in it. It also has a flap on the inside that holds 8 game cartridges and 2 mesh pockets for, maybe an extra cable or anything small you might want to carry with you. Now, like the sleeve, this one's not going to be able to fit a charger or really even a set of Joy-Cons if you want to bring an extra set with you. But I do consider this a good option if you're still trying to travel relatively light. Okay, so this next one is actually the case that I got with my original Switch at launch. It's made by RDS Industries, and this one's actually a little bit more of a hard shell case. A little bit of a downfall with this one is it's got really no extra storage on the inside for just about anything. You can fit a cable in here, and that's really about it. But again, the advantage over something like this compared to the other 2 is it's a little bit harder, and you're gonna have a lot more protection when your Switch is inside something like this as opposed to a sleeve. One thing I actually did forget about this case, it came with 2 plastic cartridge holders that each held 4 cartridges, and they sat underneath the Switch, so that is nice. But again, other than that, you're not fitting much else in here. Now, all these cases are fine options and they all work really well. But if you get one of the next accessories on this list, these cases will no longer work. But we'll come back to that in a second. Now, for most people, the ergonomics of the Switch are just fine, especially if you're not going to be playing for hours and hours on end. But if you are, or you just have bigger hands, you might want to look into getting a grip. And I've got 2 here that should definitely be at the top of your list when you go to check some out. The first grip I want to talk about is from a company called Satisfy. Now, I've got the Switch Lite version here, but they also make it for the original Switch as well. So with this one, the system just slides down in nice and easy, but stays in very firmly. You're never gonna have a problem with the system flying out of this thing, that's for sure. So the right side of this grip is actually angled out more than the left, so your thumb will sit directly over the stick. It's definitely more comfortable, and it's definitely gonna let you play a lot longer. I just got this in and haven't got to use it a ton yet, but I plan on doing a full video on this one soon, so make sure you get subscribed to check that one out. The second one I have here is the GripCase Lite from Skull & Co. Just like the Satisfy grip, this one's available for the Switch Lite and the Switch. But the main difference between the two grips is the grips themselves. With this one, instead of being stationary, it actually comes with 3 different size grips that you can change in and out, and mix and match if you want for a completely custom setup. Depending on what you're looking for in a grip, I think either of these are great choices. I actually have a full review I just did on this one. I'll link that below and right here if you want to check that out. So now, coming back to the case issue, it's actually not an issue at all. If you get one of these grips, both of the companies actually offer cases that fit the Switch in the grip as a bundle with the grip or sold separately. And to be honest, I'd say these 2 cases are probably the best and strongest ones on the list. So again, remember, links to everything is below, so if you want to check any of this stuff out, make sure you go down and do that. Alright, so moving away from cases and grips and memory cards, another thing we have to talk about is an extra set of Joy-Cons. Now, if you bought a Switch Lite, clearly you already know that you don't have any Joy-Cons. The system is one piece, nothing's detachable. But the Switch Lite does have the option to connect Joy-Cons to play some of the games that require them, like Mario Party or 1-2 Switch. I mean, I don't know why you would want to play 1-2 Switch, but if you do, you can hook up some Joy-Cons to your Switch Lite and shave your face. And if you have a bunch of friends and you play your Switch in tabletop mode a lot, it definitely comes in handy to have an extra set with you so everyone can play. Not to mention they're small and they're pretty easy to carry around with. Okay, I've saved this one for last, but to some people this might be the most important one, and that is a controller. Now the Switch comes in the box with this Joy-Con grip, but it's not the greatest to say the least. It does get the job done, but definitely not the greatest. There's some way better options out there. The first one I want to talk about, and in my opinion the best one out there, is the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Now for obvious reasons, like it's made by Nintendo, it has all the functionality like HD rumble, motion controls, and NFC support for amiibos. Built-in battery, it lasts forever. It's really the best option out there. The only downfall with this one is it is pretty expensive. So if something like this isn't in your budget, there are other controllers out there that are pretty much set up the exact same and also licensed by Nintendo. Not made by Nintendo, but licensed by Nintendo. So of all those other options, I would have to say that the enhanced wireless controller from PowerA is probably one of the best out there. Now, it's definitely not up to the build quality of the original Pro controller, but it's still pretty good. It's also a little bit more affordable. Now, that price does come with some drawbacks. This controller has no rumble, no NFC support, but it does have motion controls. The other thing I think is kind of bad about this controller is it does take AA batteries. They claim it lasts 30 hours on a single set, so that's pretty good, and you really won't have to change them out all that often. It also has 2 programmable buttons on the back as well that the Pro controller does not have. The only really bad thing about this controller, unfortunately, is the D-pad. It is absolute garbage. So if a D-pad is something that is very important to you, I would definitely not recommend this controller. I would go ahead and just cough it up for the Pro controller. There's actually one more controller I wanted to mention, but I don't have it here, and that is the SN30 Pro Plus by 8BitDo. This one's actually styled after a Super Nintendo controller, but it's also got the little grips that come down to give you a little bit more of a better feel. And the button and stick layout on that one is a lot more like a PlayStation controller. So if you're really used to a PlayStation controller and like the feel of that, the SN30 Pro Plus is definitely a controller you should be looking into. Again, I do not have that controller here, but I do have other 8BitDo products and controllers, and I can tell you from my experience with those, everything I've used is definitely top quality. And another great thing about that controller is I think the only thing it's missing is actually the NFC for amiibo support, but to me that's really not a big deal at all. You can actually hook it up through software on your computer and control the sensitivity as well, but that's something that's way beyond anything I would ever do. But if that's something you're into, now you know. You're welcome. So yeah guys, if you're looking for accessories, I really hope this list points you in the right direction. If not, and you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments down below. Again, everything we discussed in this video I have links to down in the description, along with a few other videos and also my Instagram. Make sure you guys check that out too. But guys, that is gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for stopping in. Please leave a like on this video, make sure you subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.